Hello, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Born King Elijah, and I call myself Born King Elijah because I know if I continue down this righteous path, my kingdom awaits, and that goes out to all my brothers and sisters as well. So today, I thank you for joining my podcast. This is today, and putting it out for you around sundown. So I thank you for joining me today. Today we're going to be covering several different topics. I'm going to speak about the school, slavery, prison, and how it's a lottery. You know, it can be all those three things, and I've done some extensive research to prove how all those draw into the actual fact of what school has become this day. Also, we're going to be talking about my experience with school as well. Sports being a distraction for the masses. We're going to touch on the media, and also the final segment is going to be, why are you not a racist? Wait for that one. That's going to be a really good segment as well. Now, once again, I want to thank you for joining us today, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started. And so I wanted to read from you a blog that I had wrote not too long ago. It was called The College Lottery in School, the Modern Day Slavery. And so basically in this blog, I touched on, my feelings about, school, and I broke it down into, three different sections: school, slavery, and the lottery. And so I'm going to just briefly break down this for you because it was a very powerful blog that a lot of people got back to me about. So let's break down these numbers because that's one of the first things that I did. I broke down the numbers on the colleges and high schools and elementary on how much they take from you daily, as well as the homework, the athletes, if you're an athlete or if you want to work. I've calculated that all in. And so it broke down to these different areas. So students will spend 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 4 weeks a month, for 8 months of year in class. Outside of class, homework ranges from 30 to 4 hours a night. If you're an athlete, you spend 1 to 2 hours for practice each week. Students who have jobs, they can work up to 20 hours in 1 week. And the total amount of sleep determined for good health is around 8 hours. Now we know there's only 24 hours in each day. If a student decided to be involved in playing sports, going to class daily, and doing homework, and working to have money in their pocket, and also get the proper sleep, that would mean they would use 23 out of 24 hours in their day. And those hours include 1 hour for homework, 4 hours for the part-time job, 2 hours for practice, 8 hours of sleep, and 8 hours of class. And those numbers are going to vary, but I believe that this is very close to accurate. Now, there are 2 ways to disprove the need for the current plan in place for school and students. And in this blog, I use common sense, the Holy Bible, and a personal experience. So I begin with my personal experience, and I'll just summarize it. Passed all my courses, and I had above average marks in each of them. By the time it was time for the ACT test, I didn't do as well as the other students. And so when it was time to come to the teacher or the evaluation for the advisor for college, he instantly recommended that I switch my major. Now, for me to have done so well in all of my classes and just one test to determine that I can't be the engineer that I wanted to be, that lets you know that the classes didn't mean a thing. It was just the test. So that is terrible in and of itself. So they told me, to switch majors and that they were going to put me in remedial courses. So that's actually what they did. And that was disheartening because these were all courses that I took in high school, just the same course. So what I did, I eventually switched schools, And at the other school, I was put in the remedial courses as well. They put me even further back than where I really was. So I was at a particular math course, which was 3 levels ahead. It was Algebra 2. The new school, Western Michigan, put me all the way at pre-algebra. So I would have had to pass pre-algebra, Algebra 1, Algebra 2, just to get back to where I was. Because I was preparing to go to pre-calculus at Spring Arbor, the last school I was at. So really, they're out to get the money. They didn't care that, if I knew the courses or not. Eventually, I tested up out of that, but I should not have had to do those things because I proved that I was able to do this type of work in high school. So, that's just another thing from my experience. So, like I said earlier, you have a lot of time that you're putting in to day to be a student. And so these hours, it's just as important, it's a big investment that you're doing every single day. And so this next session, I talk about the college lottery, because a lot of people don't realize it, but everybody doesn't make it out of college. And so in college, the average cost, when I averaged it out for 4 years, it's about $130,000. And you have a potential to cash out after 4 years. On average, 59% make it to graduation. And 14% have jobs when they graduate. So the all-in-all chance of winning the college lottery is 8%. That's an 8% chance when you invested $129,620. And so, all these people, who make it to graduation, at 59%, and only 8% actually have what they came there for, what they spent 1st through 12th grade hours in a day to achieve, and then they just come and there's nothing available for them. So it's much like a lottery, and there's winners and there's losers, so because, this money, it doesn't go anywhere. A lot of these people, they still have to pay this money back. And it's just a travesty that this occurs, but they just lost their all-in bet, so they're paying their end of the portion. And it's sad. Next, I'll go into the slavery aspect of college. College students are known to be the poorest demographic. A college student is held hostage and is in countless hours of studying to stay connected with the class. Then you have students who they have to pick between doing well in the class or, just barely passing so they can eat, and that should not be, what I'm saying? Because a lot of the times, college students are out here fending for themselves, and it's terrible. And now when I get to the student athletes, this is even more damning evidence, because student athletes are held hostage in the classroom and on the court and field. They offer service to the school in which they should be able to decide the way of return of the investment comes, whether it be in cash or school. I do believe it would be demanded that it should be demanded that the schools pay cash. Other than that, they receive cash for the athlete's production, so the athlete should get cash as well. After college, many of the graduates who did not, cash in or who weren't able to find jobs, they're in debt for the rest of your life. And this scripture is Proverbs 22:7. It says, "The rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender." Those in debt as college students are keeping you in a state of slavery. So, off mark on Proverbs 22:7, the rich ruleth over the poor, the borrower is servant to the lender. As a college student, according to the Bible, you're a servant. And let me see. A servant, it translates to slave as well. So we know exactly you are a servant or a slave as a college student because you're borrowing this money for your education. And I'm going to go a little bit deeper into this aspect about the students getting paid. So a lot of people say, you shouldn't have to pay the college students because they are getting a free education. What I wanted to point out is that they're getting a free education, quote unquote, but why should a college student have to pay for education when right after high school, during high school, that education was free? So you charging people to further their education when it was just paid for. It was something that they were required to do in high school. Why are we not giving college educations for free anyway? You know what I'm saying? So that is something that I think is not a good argument. And Richard Sherman, NFL player who made it out of college as a student athlete, he said, in his opinion, the college students who are student athletes do not get the opportunity to take advantage of their free education. He talked about how you have to wake up between 4 and 6:30 in the morning, and then you will practice or have meetings until 8:30. Then you have workouts between 8:30 to 11:30. He said you get usually 11:30 to 2 for class, but you have to pick classes that don't interfere between 2 and 6. So he said it was very difficult, and he did not get to take advantage of that as much as people would like to think. So, people use that as an excuse for getting an education, but that is not accurate to say that, because these players are, if you're not put in the position where you can learn, then the education, that's just an excuse to make these players slaves. So this is another aspect I wanted to point out. Could the NCAA run without the players? That's a good question. They could not. You know what I'm saying? So if you have your main asset that you use to create revenue and you can't live without them, then why are they not getting paid and you're getting paid? So the students, they run this, you know what I'm saying? So if the students left, there would be no NCAA. So, it really should be the other way around. The students should be getting paid and the NCAA should not be getting paid at all. How about that? Because they're the ones doing the work, you know what I'm saying? They're the ones who are bringing the revenue. They just don't realize the power that they possess. And that, I just want to point out, if they're just merchandise, they don't even see them as real people, because when they get injured, they lose their scholarship. They have to pay for their medical bills. They have to pay for their school again, you know what I'm saying? And also, for the people who continue to say that the education makes it worth it for them to, be students or to be an athlete, it doesn't equate, to how much the NCAA makes. The NCAA makes $989 million a year, according to the 2014, and it's going up because it was 100 million less a couple years prior. And they're not giving any of that to the people that they're making that off of. So the education does not equate to the value of what they're putting forth. So they're getting education, yeah, but it doesn't equate to what they are offering in turn for it. They're giving entertainment, they're giving sales, they're bringing money to the schools, popularity, you know what I'm saying? It does not equate to how much the NCAA makes off of these people. And NCAA, they are making, they're making 10 billion off of media contracts. It says, this is statistics on NCAA college. It says the revenue generated from ticket sales is over 5.6 billion. The annual college revenue, actually, it says 10.6 billion for NCAA. That's crazy. Their expenses is only 700 million. You know what I'm saying? Division I schools get 50% of the actual revenue distribution, And on average, the schools for football and basketball are getting $15 and $10 million respectively. So, it is a travesty, for what is going on. And I'm gonna go deeper into it. All right, and we're just gonna go ahead and take a quick break and listen to this next song by Godson, also known as Born King Elijah, and we'll be right back with you.
Kris,
When the 9 to 5 ain't cutting it, hard times, no hope in your budget. Find a move, then make it. Hustle real hard, escape the matrix. When the 9 to 5 ain't cutting it, hard times, no hope in your budget. Find a move, then make it. Hustle real hard, escape the matrix.
In 58, having sweet dreams about getting cake. No prior knowledge of college, I gotta demonstrate how to act like you living straight. Ironically smoking and hoping you get the grade. At least you paid. Nah, I'm fucking with you. Sally Mae, Uncle Sam, just a couple issues. Better get a couple tissues. It's gonna be a long ride. A few nights you only eating a plate of pride. It's a blessing in disguise on that other side. Eventually it's always a sunrise. I'm fixing humanity for me and my family. Fuck them robots, nigga, I'ma do it manually. They can't stand when he put the foot down. Look around, bunch of outdated clowns. They got it alright. I'm smoking spliffs alright. They just sniff all white. Designer clothes, I do shit that's tight, nigga.
When the 9 to 5 ain't cutting it, hard times, no hope in your budget. Find a move, then make it. Hustle real hard, escape the matrix. When the 9 to 5 ain't cutting it, hard times, no hope in your budget. Find a move, then make it. Hustle real hard, escape the matrix. I'm trying to live lavish, skip average, I'm coming up. Never give up to my last breath, I'm going for my dream. I don't need no team, just me. I got a small circle, cause not everyone's real. What's the deal with all these fakes? Running around like snakes. I got one thing that I hate, that's another nigga trying to take my place. Another nigga coming up to hate. Anyone that can't hold their weight. It's high stakes, and I need them cooked well done. These ain't no beef franks. But to be frank, I'm just trying to get bang. I don't care what they think. Coming up and they ain't looking back for no reason. This is my season, I'm a seasoned vet. How good does it get? To be real, you ain't seen nothing yet. Nah, nothing. When the 9 to 5 ain't cutting it, hard times, no hope in your budget. Find a move, then make it. Hustle real hard, escape the matrix. When the 9 to 5 ain't cutting it, hard times, no hope in your budget. Find a move, then make it. Hustle real hard, escape the matrix.
Escape the matrix, gotta do maintenance. I ain't aroused by these pussy niggas' fragrance. Wait, they can't match my cadence. I could be patient or create patience, whoa. They know who the nigga with the flows is when I call my baby, baby. That's so big. These squirrels tryna find where my nuts here. Well, too bad, so sad you can't grow his.
Escape the matrix, haters gon' hate this. Working towards a better life, moving with the basics. They seeing greatness, I'm just being patient. Waiting on my next move, moving like an agent. On another level, never to lose. Red pill, blue pill, what will you choose? You could be the one, but living like number two. Too many fools and not enough rules. When the 9 to 5 ain't cutting it, hard times, no hope in your budget. Find a move, then make it. Hustle real hard, escape the matrix. When the 9 to 5 ain't cutting it, hard times, no hope in your budget. Find a move, then make it. Hustle real hard, escape the matrix.
All right, and we're back, and that was Godson, also known as Born King Elijah, myself, and the song was Escape the Matrix, and that actually touched right on the subject that we're touching on right now. The first verse, that was a friend of mine who was speaking about his college experience, how, sometimes he goes to sleep hungry, and it's tough, but he has to act like, act like everything's all good. He's got to fight against Sally Mae and everybody. Don't want people looking down on you, so you kind of just suck it up sometime in college. Once again, this is the pathway to the kingdom with Born King Elijah, and I do thank you for listening to that song. We'll have another track a little bit later. At this point, we're going to continue the subject. Yeah, we're going to continue the subject and get right back on topic. It's just like slavery. The NFL is just niggas for lease. You know what I'm saying? NFL. Because I'm going to break it down for you. So the owners, they search and they search the country, they search the nation for the top prospects. And they get them all to come together or come to their field, and they run and they jump, and they look for the most healthiest young boy, and they pay for them, so you're paying for this person, and they're going to be playing a game, but you're paying to be owners of this person. And it's just a travesty, because I'm gonna one moment. Yeah, it's just a travesty. So the owners, they celebrate while the players are in the field, just like the owners in the plantation days, where they would celebrate in the houses while the players or the slaves were in the field. And then you have, they tell their staff, who to discipline. They hand out suspensions. They trade the players to other white owners who come and visit the players, make sure they're healthy. They do tests on them and make sure they're up to standards. They cut the players, and this would be an instance of, they're depending on this on the sports to live. So, this is like, this is basically just, to them, it's killing them. For instance, with Isaiah Thomas, this man lost his sister the day before a playoff game, and he continued to play for the team the next day. Instead of mourning for his sister, he took the opportunity to play the game. And, I don't believe he really had a choice, because, these people really do control you in these sports. So he had to play that game, is what I believe. But guess what the team did just a few months later? Even though he can sacrifice to, continue to play and help the team, they decide to trade him. And they trade him to a rival, and, they accept the rival, and they just let their player go. And they let him go when he was injured, after he was very productive that year. They had a very good run. A lot of people say it's business, but they did not have to trade that man. Also wanted to point out, money does not mean you're not a slave. So just because you give somebody an object and if you're still taking away their freedom, or they must adhere to your customs, they're still a slave, but they're just a slave to the object, and they're also a slave to you. So there's a certain thing called indentured slavery, where a person is, they are rewarded for their servitude. And so, by doing that, they're getting rewarded for it, but they are still slaves. So that doesn't change the fact that they can still be treated in any type of way by the slave master, in certain situations. So, so that's just another thing to say for people who would like to believe that, you can't make money and be a slave. There was an instance where they used the likeness of a player in a video game, and he noticed, and the Ncaa had to pay $16 million because it was found they had an antitrust violation. And that ended up only equating to $1,600 for, I think it was something like 70 or so players. I don't know the exact numbers, but it was one of the first wins in this fight for people to be able to, be paid for what they're doing. And so, so that was good. This is what Bob McNair, the owner of the Texans, says. He said that we can't have inmates running the prison. And he said that in his meeting with the press. And he issued an apology to, I guess, appease the people. But, that is how they feel. You know what I'm saying? So, a prison is just an extension of slavery, because that is all, that right after slavery was abolished, they started just rounding us up and putting us in prison for no reason. You do your research on that. They just, put us in the horrible neighborhoods, and they would take us to prison for no reason. So we would still have to work. So that is another piece of damning evidence on the subject. The next topic that I wanted to touch on was, we just talked about the NFL and the NCAA being slavery, but I also want to talk about how these schools are turning into prisons. High schools, colleges, all of them. So they have metal detectors, barbed wires, armed guards. They have pat downs, and this is all before you even get into class. One of the things that they say is that these tests, they tell the people how many prisons to create. So the number of failed tests, or ACTs, SATs, PSATs, they use those numbers to determine who or how much prisons they need to make. It's terrible. This is what's going on. So you have in school, it's a prison mindset too, because even in college, when you don't complete your work properly or to their standards, you get on what is called academic probation. So why are they using these terms? That's what you have to realize. Why are they using terms like probation in an educational setting? They're punishing you, and they're using the terms that they would use for prisoners. And then they have things. This is the breakdown. Detention, where they take your privileges away. That's just like they do in prisons. They, that's the first stage. In-house suspension at school or high school. That is where they bring you in on Saturday, or you have to come in during school and you have to just sit there. You can't do homework sometimes. You can't use your phone. You have to be quiet, and you have to just sit there for the whole day. That is the exact comparison to being in the hole at a prison. You're just sitting there, and they are watching over you, and you can't leave. Even if you have to go to the bathroom, you're escorted, and it's like a prison. Being expelled is compared to the death penalty. So that is the ultimate punishment in these schools. So, if you're expelled, they tell you that, you're going to be nothing in life. You're worthless, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, you feel that you're failed, so that's like the death penalty. The principal is the warden. The principal is the warden. He hands out the penalties. He assembles the flock. He observes the flock. He builds up fear from the students. So he walks around, and he makes sure everyone is in the place that they're supposed to be. The teacher are the correctional officers. The teachers, they are the ones who, they quote unquote try and keep you in order. They are the people, just like the correctional officers, they're just there to try and maintain, but, they act just like correctional officers. And you can say your parents are parole officers, because when you get home, you're on parole, but, you do one bad thing, you back to school the next day, and the warden is dealing with you, you know what I'm saying? Because, it's just a process, you know what I'm saying? So, other than that, that's my little breakdown. These schools, they have armed guards these days. It's crazy that it's more officers in these schools than in prisons, and it's got to stop. In the midst of all this prison talk, I have a sense that we need to hear about freedom. So this next song by Godson, a.k.a. Born King Elijah, it talks about that. It's called Free Again. It features Debra Diane, who is at Debra Diane 313 on Instagram. And it just talks about freeing, being free, freeing our city, freeing ourselves. So once again, you can find Godson also online at Papa Finesse on Instagram, or you can find him on his website where you can purchase his upcoming mixtape. And his website is blessed2bless.mystagingwebsite.com. Blessed to the number 2 blessed.mystagingwebsite.com. So thank you, and we're going to go ahead and play that track right now. It's a beautiful track. His next mixtape will be coming out sometime in February.
I bring life in my sentences to them brothers serving life sentences, but get set free by my bars. What's the charge? I charge you to be a man, start executing the plan and keep it a man. That's 100. Always be real. Being fake will never last you. Cause it's a war in these streets and I'm on the east. Warring like I'm Cashew. My words cause the cripple to walk and make the blind see. Aristotle could learn something from my philosophy. Gangsta, I don't claim to be. Why these people hate on me? I'm just trying to change the streets and set my whole city free.
Free again, free again, free again, set my people free again.
They smoking woods, word on the street, they just some Lil Max. When it's time to man up, they stepping back. And all the greater Max looking down in shame. They got all these kids, but none they claim. A real man never hid, a real man handle his. You not a real man, you just a little kid.
Free again, set my people free again.
Out here in these streets chasing dead presidents. From one Jefferson, they kill their next of kin. Kill for $1 bill and call themselves real because they got the steel. What's the code of these streets? Death, violence, and they can't be stopped by police. Back on road, these will be joy roads again. Filled with love, laughs, joy, and friends. Never fear, cause it will limit you. You have to make a move even if you might lose. You must have an outer drive to survive this struggle. So many outside cause they had no hustle.
Free again, free again, free again, set my people free again.
It's a sad day to see when you can't walk 7 miles on 7 Mile. Brothers only go to 8 Mile because they wanna see them strippers. They throw 1,001s but can't handle their business. Brothers living reckless, living check to check is a dead end. Women giving in for that 20 twin. Sell their body on a stripper pole for a bankroll and forget about their soul. It's a cold world. Sometimes looks like it's no options. We used to pick cotton, now we sell ourselves for profit. It's not even worth it if you know your worth. Your body is a temple living on this earth. What's worse, my brothers in the hearse or locked up town, it's really like we cursed. We not expect to reach our 21st year. I shed a tear for all my brothers upstairs. I say a prayer for all my people on the biz. It's only a matter of time before the truth becomes clear. We gotta turn to the Father to make it out here. It's nothing to fear, we got angels everywhere.
Free again, free again, free again, set my people free again.
Yeah, so a little bit further into that, the biblical standpoint was they separated church and state. It was about, what did it say, in the last 50 years. And so if you're separating church, if you're separating the Bible from schools, you know, why are we still going to schools? Because the Bible tells you that you are not getting any wisdom without the Most High. You're not getting wisdom because the scripture, it clearly says what wisdom is and what wisdom is not. And so we have to keep mind of that, and we have to seek the wisdom of the Most High, because if we're seeking worldly wisdom, the scripture says we are fools. And this is 2 Corinthians 3 verse 19. It says, "For the wisdom of this world is foolishness with the Most High. For it is written, He taketh the wise in their own craftiness." So, you know, all this mathematics, y equals mx plus b, times c, e equals mc squared, that's wisdom of this world. You don't see that in the scriptures. The wisdom of this world is foolishness to the Most High. It is foolishness. Now, what is the wisdom of the Most High? Proverbs 2:6, it says, all wisdom comes from the Most High, and so do common sense and understanding. All wisdom comes from the Most High. And in order to get that wisdom, you have to be attached to him. You have to take your time, and you have to be attached to the Most High. And you're not going to get that, in school. And this is what the scripture says about obtaining wisdom. It says, 2 Timothy 2:15, study to show thyself approved unto the Most High, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. So this is telling you need to study to show thyself approved, but not unto man, unto the Most High. And we already know the wisdom of this world is foolishness to him. So we need to be studying the scriptures. These days, people do not study scriptures, They study worldly wisdom. And so, it's just sad. So now it says in this scripture, Proverbs 2:6, that, so do common sense and understanding. And that's something that's not common these days. What you really need to be a successful man on this earth is simple math, communication, verbal, written, and history. Math is needed for everyday life is addition, subtraction, multiplication. Communication, you can learn that through experience. And written aspect can be taught at home within the first 5 years of a child's life and adapted from there forth. History is the most damning evidence that school ain't about nothing. The history that they teach you is written from the perspective of the white man only. The history of the Negroes brought over to the Americas and abroad, and also to the islands during the transatlantic slave trade, has been wiped out and not shown in schools. The Native Americans are mocked. They're used as sports figures. They're used as the mascots. The holidays like Columbus Day are celebrated. Athletic teams, like I said, Redskins, Indians, they're celebrated. And all of the history in school shows everything great the white man has done. What about the Native Americans, the Negroes, the Hispanics, the Latinos, the Mexicans, Dominicans? What about us? In the movies, there is too much respect shown for people of European descent, and savages such as Cortez, who came to the New World and brought destruction upon the people of Mexico. And so, it's all whitewashed. The history is whitewashed. And so, we need to change. We need to change. So I guess you can take from these last 2 segments is that you need to homeschool. You need to get. That's what I was. I was homeschooled. So you need to take your time at home. And majority of the time, I'll be honest with you, I did teach myself when my parents weren't around, and I learned just fine. So parents who think, I have to be over them 20 or 8 hours a day, that is not true. Once you give us that guidance, we will lead. We have to be responsible and have integrity to actually do our work, but it doesn't take that much. And then another option, instead of college, you can go into vocation. You can make a business out of anything these days with the internet. So there's no reason to be going to college for these useless degrees, or to be going to college at all, because it's a risk. And like I said, it's a lottery. Only a certain amount of people actually make it out. So that is very important to take into mind when you're thinking about these things. So finally, the last topic that I wanted to speak on is why are you not a racist? So this is a very controversial topic even today. Recently, someone named Joyner Lucas released a song called I'm Not Racist. And basically, during the song, if you have not heard it, he had a white man who, I had to cut through because he was being very disrespectful, even though, it was the black man speaking. I kept picturing a white man saying this and talking to one of my brothers in this way. So I skipped through certain parts, but because he was very vulgar. But, he was giving his side of the argument, saying why he wasn't racist or why he hates black people. But he has a reason, But basically, the point of the video was to point out, that we could come together as one, quote unquote, and, racism is not bad because we were all the human race. And, that's all fine and dandy, but to be honest, that's not all true. We all didn't come from the same father. And that's hard for some people to realize. But, I'm not going to get deep into that. That's for another time. But this is what I wanted to get into. Why are you not a racist? So, this is dictionary.com, and I'm going to read the definition of racist. Racist, a person who believes in racism, the doctrine that one's own racial group is superior or that a particular racial group is inferior to the others. It is a noun. Origin of racist, race, plus ist. A person who believes in racism, the doctrine of one's own racial group is superior or that a particular racial group is inferior to others. So this is what I want to understand. Why is it wrong to feel that your race is superior to other people? Just from this particular standpoint or this definition, why is that wrong? Because when a Jewish convert, the Jews in Israel, when they, buy up land and start businesses and hire their own, that is an instance of thinking that their own would be superior to anyone else. And that is an instance of racism, but we don't call that racism. Why not? Because that is what it is. When you have the Arabs, when they buy these gas stations, when they buy these shawarma huts or shawarma, and they hire their own or they invite people from their country and they don't hire anyone else. And, because they think that their own or they know their own is superior, and that the other groups will be inferior to work with them. That is racist. But what is wrong with that? See, you have to really break these things down because they want you to feel like you have to love someone else equally to how you love yourself. Because when it comes down to it, by you loving yourself, that doesn't mean you don't love somebody else. It just means that you put yourself at a higher standard, and the people who came from your father or your family above the other people, and that is considered racism. But there's nothing wrong with that, because you are supposed to feel that you're superior and not inferior to others. So by you feeling that way about yourself, and if you feel that way about your brothers or people of your race, and that's called racism by definition, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being that way, because that's how it should be. You should feel superior to another group, and you should feel that they're inferior to you, because if you don't feel that they're inferior to you, then you feel that they're better than you. Now, let me break this down a little bit further, because a lot of people don't understand this, but a lot of people would call God racist. Now that's deep, because God, his children are the children of Israel, the chosen seed. Their line goes back to him. The children of Israel who came from Jacob, their line goes back to Adam, which goes back to God. And a lot of people do not realize that. He loves them more than any other nation who he ever created. And I'm going to show you this. And he sees them, like this definition says, he sees them as superior, and he sees the other nations as inferior. And that is the definition of racist from dictionary.com. So right now we are going to read 1 John 3:1 to prove that the children of Israel are the sons and daughters of God. Behold, what manner of love that the Father hath bestowed upon us, that we should be called the sons of God. Therefore the world knoweth us not, because it knew him not. And I'll read the next scripture, if it'll go over. Hereby know ye that the Spirit of God, every spirit that confesses that Christ is come from the flesh, is of God. So, now, I'm going to go into these other scriptures as well. This is Psalm 147, and this is verse 19 and 20. He showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He have not dealt so with any other nation. And as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord. That is showing that Jacob, his people, and Israel are superior and the others are inferior. That's favoritism to Israel, and there's nothing wrong with that, because those are his sons, just like we read in John 1, 1 John 1, chapter 3. Those are his sons. He said he has not dealt so with any other nations, and they have not known his judgments. So why would God continue to deal with other nations who continue, who aren't his kids, and they serve other gods? Why would he do that? They serve other gods. Now, that would be wrong. Now I'm going to read another scripture. This is Amos 3, verse 1. And it says, hear this word that the Lord hath spoken against ye, O children of Israel, against the whole family which I brought out of the land of Egypt, saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore I will punish you for all your iniquities. So since he only knew us, we have to pay for the things that we've done, because we did not follow our Father. So our Father, he didn't punish people that he did not know. He punished his children. So he specifically said that I've known you. You know my statutes and commandments. So you're my family. So if you go back on me, I have to train you to come back. So this is very distinct. He's only known us. He's only known us. He didn't know anybody else. All the families of the earth. Out of all the families, we are superior to God. They are inferior to us. Now it says, arise and shine, for a light is come. The glory of the Lord is upon thee. For behold, darkness shall cover the earth, and the gross darkness of the people. But the Lord shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall come upon thee, shall be seen upon thee. So this is showing you that they're talking about, the end of time, after the end of time, when the darkness covers the earth, and when the Son of Man comes again. And so this is a future prophecy. That was Isaiah 60, that was 1 and 2. And so we're going to skip down to verse 12, and it says, to verse 10, and the sons and daughters shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I have smote thee, but in my favor I have mercy on thee. Therefore thy gates shall be open continually. They shall not be shut, nor day nor night, that men may bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles, and that their things may be brought. For the nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall be utterly wasted. It says, they shall perish, yea, those nations shall be utterly wasted. So, once again, why would you have a king? So, you're going to have one particular people in servitude and one particular people ruling. That is showing superiority and inferiority. And especially for them to get utterly wasted if they decide not to do that, that is showing superiority and inferiority of the other people. So the Most High is, you can say, he is in love with Israel. And some people, according to that definition, it would be considered racist because he loves that race of people, that nation. We're not a race, we're a nation. Why aren't you racist? This is John 17. I'm going to start at verse 6, I have manifested thy name unto the men which thou hast given me out of the world. Thine they were, and thou gavest them me, and they have kept thy word. Now they have known that all things whatsoever thou hast given me are of thee. For I have given unto them the words that which thou hast givest me, and they have received them, and they have known surely that I come out from thee, and they have believed that thou didst send me. I pray for them. I pray not for the world, but for them which thou hast given me, for they are thine, and all mine are thine, and thine are mine, and I am glorified in them. And now I am no more in the world, but these are in the world, and I come to thee. Holy Father, keep thou thine own name from thy own name, those whom thou hast given me, that they may be one as we are. While I was with them in the world, I kept them in thy name. Those that gavest me I have kept, and none of them is lost, but the son of perdition, that the scripture might be fulfilled. And so this is Christ's prayer. And he specifically says, I pray not for the world, but for them which thou hast given me. And that goes back again to what we were saying. The Israelites are seen by God and Christ as superior, and the other races or nations are inferior. definition of racism is seeing one race as superior and another as inferior. So that, that goes into it again. Why are you not racist? Why don't you love your own kind? This last one is also by yours truly. We're going to end with a song, and it is called Never Let You Go. The beat is by 318 Tay. You can find him on YouTube, and the artist is Godson, myself. I do appreciate you for listening today. We will be back again on next Saturday. Once again, you can follow me on Instagram at Papa Finesse, and you can find my website, blessed2bless.mystagingwebsite.com. That's blessed, the number 2, bless.mystaging, STAGING, website.com. And thank you for joining. And this is Born King, Pathway to the Kingdom. So, Born King Elijah, Pathway to the Kingdom. So, thank you for watching or listening. And I hope you join us again next Saturday.
My promise is to never let you go. You are not alone. You can always come home. Come home. Yeah. My promise is to never let you go. You are not alone. You can always come home. Come home. Yeah. Look, shorty, let me tell you something. Come here. You're the most precious woman in my life. You make me smile from ear to ear, year to year. You always give me cheer. Yeah. My mind is focused on you for eternity. You and I, plus the Most High, we will rise above the evil plots and the wicked shots of the enemy. Yeah. I love the way you twist your hair from day to day. Just know I'm always by your side, waiting patiently for you. Oh, yeah, for you. Yeah. Ooh, baby, my lady, you always amaze me. Yeah. Ooh. It's like the sun came up after a rainy day. When I wake up in the morning and I see your face, shining like the month of May. I pray for the Most High's guidance every time I walk your way. I promise